Well then. Okay, so I'm gonna try to make this short and sweet. As some of you may know, I'm in the market for a new truck. I posted some stuff on the page about it. I went to go rent a 1500 Ram from Hertz. They didn't have one, so they gave me this 2500. So another truck I wanted to test out, so I took it. Here's the problem. That's as far as it'll make it up this hill. It's not a very big hill. The Tacoma goes over this. It doesn't have a locker in the back. You can order it with a locker, obviously. It has the brake limited slip, but you can see in this situation right here, this tire is spinning, and this tire is also spinning. It's probably the worst brake limit slip I've ever seen, in the fact that it waits so long to kick in that this tire already kind of dug itself in. It's really heavy. Rides okay on the street, off-road. Took to Swamp Ghost last night. Really bouncy and brutal ride. The back axle is flexing a little bit here. The front end is not. Big problems so far is the fuel mileage. I thought it was getting decent fuel mileage. It turns out it's not. That was because I was driving, at slower highway speeds when I first picked it up. So back and forth to work 2 times, which is a mix of like 50-50 highway and some in-town traffic a little bit. I'm getting 12.5 miles per gallon unloaded, driving it really easy. If I put hammer down the first couple hundred miles I put on it, not couple hundred, maybe first 70 miles, hammering down and stuff like that, I got 9 miles per gallon doing, which is 0 to 60 pulls. So that's the bad. It's obviously 2500, it's not gonna be super efficient, it's a gas job, etc. Everyone says, why don't you get a diesel? Well, because if you guys could do math, you'd realize that diesels are not economical for 99% of you. Diesels are cool, they're torquey, and they sound nice, and whatever, you can tune them, sure. But due to the cost of all the diesel things that the EPA makes you put on the truck and the extra complication, the diesel is just not economical for someone that doesn't tow every day. Just a weekend towing, it's around 10,000 pounds-ish. You don't need a diesel. More than that, maybe you need a diesel. I don't know. But anyways, not looking at diesels. Maybe an eco diesel, but probably not. This thing's quick though. 4-wheel drive, 6.4 liter Hemi. Heavy truck, 4-wheel drive and everything. If I launch it in 4-wheel high, stall about 2,000 RPMs and let it launch, I'm getting 7.3 to 7.5 seconds 0 to 60. Really not bad for a truck that's this big. It actually feels pretty peppy. I think most of that credit goes to the excellent the ZF transmission. The 8-speed that's in this thing is really sweet. There's that monster back axle, and it's, of course, it's not leaf springs. It's got four-link control arms and big coil springs, which is cool. So yeah, the transmission's awesome. I really like the transmission in this truck, and most of the Dodges that have this 8-speed, that's probably the best thing about them, is Dodge finally found a transmission that's worth a shit. Show the front axle too. Big 3-link suspension, kind of reminiscent of the Land Cruiser. But yeah, so it's just a little too heavy duty for me, a little too stiff, a little too not economical. And I like a truck that'll do 0 to 60 in 7 seconds, and this one won't quite do that. We're not even gonna try the big hill because, you know, it just ain't gonna happen. Can't even make it up to Little Hill very far. And you see that front plastic splitter is already getting bent up right there, and that's not a very big hill. So I wouldn't say it's a super off-roady truck, especially with the open diffs and the weight and the lack of flex. Almost got stuck last night and doing some very mild off-roading. But you know, that's what you expect from big heavy trucks. That's one of the reasons I don't want a 2500. Off-roadability, right? The 2500s are heavier. The heavier you are, the worse you are off-road. And you can get the 1500s now that can tow 14,000 pounds legally. What's the point of this, right? You know, I'm not towing a giant camper or a giant mud truck or any crap like that. I'm just towing some side-by-sides and maybe a little Kubota, maybe the Land Cruiser, stuff like that. So don't really need anything this big, but it was fun to test out. So numbers, because we're all about numbers here, right? Everyone will tell you their truck's the most efficient thing in the world because they love their truck, but in testing, the Draggy says 0 to 60 about 7.5 seconds, 4-wheel drive, launch 4-wheel high, 2-wheel drive traction control off, you're about 7.6 seconds, 2-wheel drive traction control on, you're about 7.7, 7.8 seconds. Gas mileage with a mix of highway and in town, 12.5 miles per gallon if you're driving easy, 10.5 if you're gonna put your foot down a little bit. So this truck is out due to the mileage and the rough ride. The interior is actually better than I thought. It's just a bighorn, and pretty happy with it. You know, it's got the electric seat and everything. I like this cloth. It's not too bad. The layout's good. You can customize what's in each of these 4 squares of the screen. That's a really nice feature. This is the smaller bed for the 2500, but the cab is just huge. Plenty of room back here. This isn't even the mega cab. This is just a crew. But you know, AC, 4 USB-C ports, 4 USB-A ports, all that good stuff. So I do not like this thing. I thought it was okay, and then I realized that if you have your door ajar or not completely closed and you go to drive away, it throws itself back in park very violently. See if I can show you that. It freaked me out. I was like, man, what did I do to this poor truck? I mean, I'm hard on stuff, but Jesus, I already broke it. Of course, we're actually stuck. There we go. Wait for the brake to kick in. There we go. All right, we're moving. So let me show you what I was talking about, the park thing. So this is interesting. So you go to park. You have your door closed, but not latched. You go to drive. You go to drive away. Auto park engaged. It just throws itself in park. And sometimes, if you're rolling a little bit, it'll throw it in park and it bounces back and forth. It's really stupid. Exactly what I'd expect from Chrysler, some bullshit like that. This screen's nice, pretty practical. I don't like that the whole bottom down here is for your climate control and that doesn't go away. It kind of wastes a lot of your screen when you have Android Auto plugged in. Integrated trailer controller's good. I can't for the life of me figure out how to completely disengage traction control in anything but 4-wheel low. So even if you hold this down for 5 seconds, like the manual says you have to do, it'll, no other lights come on to indicate that traction control is completely off or anything like that. And I did have the brake kick in and stuff like that, trying to do donuts, so I don't like that crap. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big truck. So let me drive it around a little bit in the yard and show you how just rough this thing is. This is okay. And it's just, oh, it's almost stuck again. Jeez. Let me turn the traction control on. That way it'll use the brake distribution stuff. Oh, man. Yeah, it's a tank. Hitting speed bumps will throw your back out. Oh, man. And it does make some kind of bad noises. My initial impressions were better than I thought. I've never really liked Chrysler products. And you know, all trucks are kind of the same these days. They're so close in specs and everything. Oh, it'll never stop bonging. My seatbelt's not on, even though I'm going 4 miles an hour. Wow, there you go. That's a little hole there. It feels like you hit a mountain. But anyways, not gonna get this truck for sure. I'm gonna rent in probably a 2500 or 250 F250 next. I'm kind of looking at the trimmers. There's a little teaser for you. Those are the 38-inch Aztecs. Wheels will be here in a couple days, and I'll do a full review on those. And it's real quiet in here. The steering doesn't wander much for being a solid axle truck. Slightly more than my Silverado, but you know, it's solid axle, so that can be expected. It's a monster. It's really tall. I do like the big mirrors and everything. I like the height. 4-wheel drive, obviously. Big horn. Doesn't have the... This guy's trying to come in my lane. It doesn't have the massive screen, which is probably not the one I'd go for anyway. But yeah, it's smooth and quiet in here. There's no whistles, anything like that, which is, my Silverado had a couple whistles after I did the front bumper and the leveling, and the lift kit, the 2.5-inch lift. So this sits higher than that does already because it's 2500, and it's quiet in here. I just did a 0 to 60 pull with traction control on. It did 0 to 60 in 7.9 seconds, which isn't appalling for a big truck. However, my Silverado, again, 1500s are faster. Power to weight ratio is what gives you 0 to 60 times. My Silverado was over a second faster on 35. So the thing that is annoying is that this is a crew, not a super crew or mega cab or whatever, but it has a 6.4 foot bed, or 6 foot 4 inch bed, I think. That's a shorter bed than my Silverado. And what I really want is a 7 foot bed, so I can put a Rubicon or a dirt bike back there and close the tailgate. They don't make 7 foot beds, so I'm probably going to get something with an 8 foot bed. But this exact truck is configurable with an 8 foot bed, which is why I'm driving it. 8 foot bed is one of the must-have requirements for my next truck, which really limits me down to an F-150, 8 foot bed and double or crew cab. So F-150 and then the 2500s or the Tundra. Those are the only trucks you can get with 8 foot beds these days that can seat more than 3 people. So that's why I'm testing this, because it has that option, and that's something I really, really want, because unlike most people in this country, I actually do need a truck, and I use it for more than a mountain bike because I'm not a pansy. But yeah, pretty good. I've never been a fan of Dodge interiors. This one does feel slightly better. You know, it's corny, but it's not overly gaudy like the Fords, where there's like chrome stuck in everywhere and big chunks of plastic. I despise Ford interiors. If I get a Ford, it's going to be a freaking work truck, because their interiors, their limited and platinum interiors just give me AIDS. They're terrible. It doesn't have paddle shifters, but it has gear limit. So as right now you can see I'm an 8, so I can go to 7. That's for towing. But that does tell you is that this has that delicious 8-speed that is in most of the Dodge trucks now, which is probably the best transmission out there, in my opinion, and in most opinions. And people are saying it more and more, that the ZF 8-speed is the transmission to have. I do like the 10-speed in the Fords, like that guy right there. However, this transmission is silky smooth, and I think 10 gears is a little bit too much. You end up hunting around a lot. 8 gears is just right. So one of the reasons I actually want a Dodge is just because I want that 8-speed transmission that my BMW will inevitably have in it. Not the exact same transmission, but you know, its brother. Big horns, so they're not leather or whatever. I'm probably not going to get leather, because if you get leather in Florida, you got to get AC seats, and I'm not going to get another LTZ or Platinum or anything fancy like that. Just because, you know, I use a truck for mudding, and when you have a nice interior like that, you just feel real bad when it gets full of mud. And the AC seats in most of the trucks I've been test driving lately don't do a whole lot. My Chevy had excellent AC seats. However, they were kind of noisy. And if you have cloth seats, they breathe okay, where you don't actually have to have the AC feature. I'm gonna miss it, but again, you know, I want a more utility-based truck. I want an 8-foot bed, a little better towing capacity. I want the lower gears, etc. The reason I'm not getting another Silverado, which I, by the way, am convinced the Silverado is the superior truck in every way. I've had 2 of them. It's superior as far as engineering is concerned, mile per gallon is concerned, interior is concerned, speed, drivability, everything. I mean, they're freaking awesome trucks, right? The problem with the Silverado is marketing. They do not market to the utility people the way that Ford and the heavy duties do. So 2500 Silverado, yes, all the options I need. 8-foot bed, low gears, locker, whatever. 1500 Silverados, they market to people who want a truck that's going to get 20 miles per gallon, which means you cannot get a double cab with an 8-foot bed. It means the lowest gears you can get if you special order it are 342s. That's not low enough. I want at least 373s, and 342s are even hard to find. My old truck didn't have them just because I could not find a 6.2 on the lot with 343s when I was, or 342s when I was shopping. So the gearing, the bed length, and the tank size. It's impossible to find a Chevy on the lot with a big tank. They just don't do it in anything except, I think, maybe the regular cab long beds, you can get a bigger tank. But both the Ford, the Dodge, and the Toyota 1500s, you can get with a 32, 34, 36, 38 gallon tank. And when you tow with a 1500, your gas mileage is going to get cut in half. That's why you accept that when you buy 1500, is that it's going to be efficient most of the time, and when you tow, you're going to take a big hit. Because even if you tow as much as I do, less than half your mileage is going to be towing, right? So you can afford to take that hit while you're towing. But the downside of that is your range goes to shit. So if you're going to have a 1500 and you're going to tow, like my trailer, which is like a 8.5 by 24, big wide freaking trailer with a bunch of side-by-sides on it, and you want to go to North Carolina, you don't want to be stopping for fuel every 220 miles. So the big tank is a huge requirement. So my next truck, the two major requirements are big fuel tank and 8-foot bed, and 342s is the highest ratio I'll get. I'd prefer like a 373. That's what I'm going for. But then, you know, you got to start shopping around, see what's on the lots, and see what kind of deals you can get. I looked into special ordering a truck with everything I wanted on it. And if I was going to special order even like an XL Ford with all the gears I want, the towing package, all that stuff, because you're special ordering it, you're not getting all the incentives. There's no way I'm going to get one on the lot for less than 50 grand. And I could go buy almost that exact same truck for 40 grand. So just to get it configured and delivered to the lot exactly how I want it is a 10 grand upcharge. So I probably won't order one, unfortunately. While we're in here talking about trucks, the Ford hybrid is really interesting, not because of the hybrid, that's bullshit, just because of the 7,500 watt generator. That's a pretty attractive feature. However, you can only get that generator in the crew cab and not in the 8-foot bed with the double cab. Therefore, I will not be getting it because that's the hybrid thing where the battery's in the back and it's like this big liquid cooled 1.5 kilowatt battery, which actually isn't that big of a battery, by the way. Sounds big, it's not. But it's, you know, for start stop stuff like that. I don't want a hybrid. People are like, oh, get the Ram with the e-torque assist. No, that's a bunch of extra stuff to go wrong. It's a little extra cost. And if you look at all the performance numbers, it doesn't make a big difference 0 to 60, because even though you have a little more torque off the line, you're carrying around more weight, and pickup trucks are pretty much limited by traction off the line unless you're launching in 4-wheel drive, which you're not going to do on a daily basis. So yeah, not going to get that. The 3.5 EcoBoost for 2020 gets a 2 mile per gallon better rating by the EPA, but we all know that EPA ratings for the EcoBoost don't matter because they constantly say the EcoBoost gets better gas mileage than the 5.0, and it doesn't. So yeah. Also for 2021, they put cylinder deactivation on the 5.0 Coyote motor in the F-150. I'm not sure I want that. It took Chevy about 10 years to get it working right for them, so I don't have a whole lot of faith Ford's going to get it right on their first try. But you know, we'll see. Probably going to get a 2020 Coyote if I get an F-150. But yep, that's enough yapping from me.